Children from hard places need parents who feel equipped to help them heal and grow no matter what. That takes preparation, education, support, and the services families need when they need them. In partnership with 8 sites, the National Quality Improvement Center for Adoption and Guardianship Support and Preservation tested promising practices and evidence-based models of support and intervention along a continuum. 8 interventions in 5 intervals, each focusing on a different level of risk. Together, the intervals represent the needs a family may encounter along the lifelong journey of adoption or guardianship. Vermont focused its intervention on universal prevention. Introducing the Vermont Permanency Survey. This is Vermont, the Green Mountain State, where the state system of care has found a way to stay connected with families formed through adoption and guardianship long after finalization.
Children who are adopted from the foster care system almost always have gone through some kind of early trauma, developmental trauma.
Neglect, abuse, domestic violence, things that have affected them at their core.
And once their adoptions are finalized, those challenges don't just stop.
And families will struggle with the behaviors that come from those early losses.
In Vermont, the intervention is a survey that is designed to reach out to all of those families in order to begin to assess what are their needs, how can we support them better, what's going well for them, what are some of the challenges they face, are they able to get supports around those challenges as they come up.
The QIC-AG team wanted to learn about the needs of adoptive and guardianship families in Vermont, and they wanted to learn from the families themselves. The Permanency Survey was an opportunity to hear many diverse voices from across the state. In this video, we listened to a sampling of those voices, the voices of real families, to highlight their strengths, their struggles, and ultimately, the deep commitment that sustains them.
Because I had had Mariah since she was 4 days old, I had quite a pipe dream of what it was going to be like raising this beautiful little baby all by myself and making her into this wonderful little girl that was going to be my sidekick.
We thought that we could just love him enough and he would be fine, and that's not what happened.
His whole childhood, I would say, was much harder than I thought it was going to be.
We needed help.
You know, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's just, it was hard.
Universal interventions are designed to keep families connected with available supports, increase awareness of services and supports, and educate families about issues before problems arise.
So what are we doing here in Vermont? We are doing the Vermont Permanency Survey. As of last Friday, we have completed our survey of all families that are joined through adoption and guardianship through the child welfare system that are currently living in the state of Vermont. And we also reached out to families that were joined through private, domestic, and intercountry adoptions as well.
Universal prevention, I guess you could kind of describe it as casting a wide net. It's going to capture families regardless of their risk or their need. It's all families, so it's broad.
Why did we do this? We wanted to know more about our families. We had an idea of what our families were like out after they have exited care, but we didn't really know. So we wanted to reach back out to those families and engage with them to say, how are things going? And do you need some help?
By asking families to share their experiences, the site team hoped to learn a number of things. What are the protective factors that help families thrive? What factors might put families at risk? And how can the system of care help?
Look at this. Caregiver ACE is on page 12.
The team knew that for the survey to yield meaningful information, they would need a high response rate.
Assertive outreach is a way of engaging individuals to hopefully increase our ability to receive responses.
So what we were doing with the survey, with the assertive outreach, was trying to figure out what is the best combination of things to where we can get people to fill this out.
First, Vermont sent a letter to all families in the target population, notifying them that they would be receiving a survey. Next, families with a known email address received a link to the survey via email. Families with no known email address got a paper copy of the survey in the mail. After completing the survey, families received a $20 gift card. Non-responders were contacted again either by email or mail, and if they took the survey this time, they got the $20 gift card. Those who still didn't take the survey received a phone call.
Hey, you're going to get a survey. Hey, here's your survey. Hey, remember the survey?
Well, we wanted to find out what would improve survey response, but we also had the gall to ask, why didn't you answer our surveys?
So what we have learned is that families did respond. Statewide, I think it's about a 56% response rate overall.
The Vermont Permanency Survey centers around 4 main areas of inquiry: family well-being, child well-being, caregiver well-being, and community services. The family well-being section aims to understand the factors that can impact a family's safety, permanency, and stability.
When he would have a flare-up of behavior and he would get extremely angry, I had to learn not to get on that roller coaster with him, and sure enough, it just boils up and then he would say what he needed to say and then he was done.
We're still learning because as they get older, it changes. What worked for them a year ago, for example, doesn't work now.
We took several validated measures and put them into our survey.
A validated measure is a research tool that has been tested elsewhere for reliability. One such measure in the Vermont survey is the Belonging and Emotional Security Tool, or BEST, which measures claiming, attachment, and commitment.
My child belongs to our family. Strongly agree. When something important happens to my child, I want to talk with him or her about it. Absolutely, yes, strongly agree. I let my child know she is wanted all the time. Yes, I strongly agree.
The other thing that we're really encouraged by is that there is a strong level of commitment of families to their children.
I am committed to my child for life, no matter what. Absolutely, I strongly agree with that.
I used to introduce them as these are my adoptive children. I didn't want to be associated with the problem. Now when I introduce them, it's this is my son, this is my daughter's, this is it.
Because we love them to pieces. And it's the right thing to do because they're family, and I want to see them succeed.
He knows I'm here for him no matter what goes on.
I don't care what you do, I'm not going anywhere.
The love that you feel being a parent, I didn't know really what that was going to feel like, and it's good. Yeah.
The next area of inquiry is child well-being.
How are they doing in school? How are they doing in their community? What are their relationships like with other children? What are their relationships with other adults?
So we did find a lot of encouraging information that came out of this survey. So what are we encouraged by? Children are doing pretty well educationally.
He struggled with school for his whole life, but he did really well on his IEP.
She wasn't the easiest child in the classroom, but her teacher loved her.
Within the child well-being section, the survey offers 30+ examples of challenging behavior.
Explosions and throwing things and tantrums, and they would come on in a moment and then they would disappear in a moment.
She is the most wonderful little girl. She's compassionate, she's caring, she's kind, she loves animals, she's fun to be with. But then there is this other little person in there that cannot control her impulses and has terrible temper tantrums.
Because they were taken by the police, they have a fear that somebody's going to come in and take them.
He was very, very quiet, but he also was really aggressive at the same time and got into a lot of fights.
She has to know where I am. I can't go from upstairs to downstairs without her going, I go with you.
Her attention deficit was unbelievable. I mean, she just went from one thing to other and just had high energy like I had never seen.
With our survey, we are able to ask all sorts of questions about all sorts of experiences.
The challenging behavior questions inform the system about how children are doing. At the same time, they remind families that they're not alone.
Oh, this is actually a thing. Other people are going through this, obviously, or they wouldn't have the box to check.
He had taken everything from his room and thrown it out the window.
You should see what this living room can look like after a temper tantrum. Everything in every container gets dumped.
The Caregiver Wellbeing section explores caregiver resilience, caregiver strain, the effects of past experiences, and the difference support can make.
If you don't take care of yourself, you're no good to anybody else. And I know that in my mind, but I don't always practice it.
I had to learn how to not take things personally. I learned to keep my cool.
We've learned over the years to tag team, okay? I'm going to the bathroom, you watch Emmy. I'm going downstairs to do X, you watch Lily.
I swim 2 days a week. Elizabeth goes out every morning and walks.
We're also really encouraged by caregiver well-being. They're feeling some strain, but it's not extreme for them.
If we can ever get away, it's a miracle, you know?
You have to have a strong marriage in order to take on 3 small children with trauma issues.
At one point, he was refusing to go to school, so every day became this incredible stress. Who's going to take the day off? Who has any more time to take off from work?
My family all lived around me within close proximity, and they would take him and, and just let him chill out and just have some space, which we both needed at, different times.
For years and years, people told us we had to be stricter with Dylan. He needs to know that you're the bosses and he can't get away with this stuff. We felt very much blamed for Dylan's behavior.
Embedded in the survey is the ACEs questionnaire.
The ACEs, we purposely put that in just to see the caregivers and just what kind of adverse experiences have they gone through.
And what that means for us as providers going forward. How are we going to help and support those families that we know have had that experience in their childhood?
The Community Services section was designed to tell the system of care, district by district, what families need.
Are the services that are in their communities meeting their needs?
The survey asks, what are the most important services or supports for families? What services are needed but hard to find? And what are the barriers to getting the help families need? In this way, the system of care can learn from families what's working, what can be improved, and where there are gaps in service that must be filled.
I want families to understand they have a voice in this. You need to inform us as to what is working for your family and what is not working for your family, because that's how we learn.
And we want to hear from you, because right now we're providing services that we think people need. This way we're going to provide services that people are saying that they need.
The survey also lets families request a personal contact from the state on the spot.
Families have the option of saying, hey, I'm raising my hand, I need some help, I have some questions.
I got connected with my post-adoption case manager, Christina, right after the adoption, and we met weekly. She would come to my house, and I loved that time.
I mean, it's been 6 years and we're still going to classes. We try to do 1 conference a year.
I think having a good support group is very important, but it's hard to get people involved.
The biggest thing that we could benefit of would be the respite. Because if we can stay strong and rested, then we're able to deal with so much more.
I think the counseling piece is huge. I think both adoptive parents and the kids need that.
It's hard when you talk to your doctor. It's hard to find a therapist that gets it.
I wish the school system and the mental health system would have a better understanding of how to deal with kids like Dylan.
Mariah is 6 now, and we are still on the roller coaster with trying to find somebody who can work with us. And it's an us, it's not just work with Mariah.
We now have that data so we can start presenting that back to the leadership saying, this is what we know about these families. So we're developing district reports.
Now, data gathered from the survey can be shared with Vermont's 12 districts through meetings of local interagency teams, or LITs.
This is going to allow us to collaborate with the whole system. We're going to be able to look at, okay, they're saying that here's what we need in schools, here's what we need through mental health, here's what we need through, the system resources.
Long term, the goal of the Permanency survey is to increase post-placement stability and improve the well-being of children and families by ensuring that they get the support they need.
We want the information so we can make the system of care work the best that it can for all adoptive and guardianship families.
With support, families stand a much better chance of staying together.
We're not looking at DCF custody as the answer. The answer is parents who have the support that they need to be able to do the parenting that they want to do and that the children need. And you get to see this parent-child relationship flourish.